Happy Friday, Minties. This is the Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, and join me today as I do an overview of Event Leviathan and the Dark Multiverse from DC Comics, so please stay tuned. And welcome back, all you Minties. Now, before I get started, I want to thank the folks at DC for sending us copies of these books. These books are already available through places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, in-stock trades, and Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Now, one of the things I will say, though, is I really thought that the Dark Multiverse was going to be an oversized hardcover, but it's not. These are just your standard edition size. So, this is a deluxe hardcover, and that's how much bigger it is compared to the standard size hardcovers. So really, the paper size inside of each of these hardcovers here is the same size as a trade paperback. Now, let's look at Event Leviathan first. Take a look at it under the dust jacket. This book retails for $29.99. Get it under the dust jacket so you can get a look at it. Now, let's look at this and talk a little bit about it. I find it interesting that we're actually calling an event Leviathan. It wasn't a huge crossover event because it mainly was just a couple of one-shots and then a 7-issue miniseries. So this does collect issues 1 through 6 of Event Leviathan, as well as Superman Leviathan Rising and the DC Villains United one-shot, the Event Leviathan. And it starts off with a couple of writers joining Brian Michael Bendis, such as Greg Rucka, Matt Fraction, and Mark Andreyko, and a few different artists, doing this one-shot of Superman, like Yannick Paquette, Mike Perkins, and Steve Lieber, to name a few. And it's pretty much this new organization called the Leviathan, and they try to kidnap Clark Kent and fail to do so. And apparently Leviathan was once controlled by Talia al Ghul. That is no longer the case. So, it's up to Lois Lane to team up with the DC's greatest detectives. So you got Batman, The Question, Manhunter, and yeah, these characters here, plus more. Right, you got Plastic Man, plus more that join later on to try to figure out who Leviathan is and who is behind the mask, because there's more than one Leviathan. So that's pretty much it. But speaking of team-ups, this reunites the team of Brian Michael Bendis with Alex Maleev, the people that put Daredevil back on the map when it was back during the Marvel Knights run, and also did a run on Spider-Woman that I don't think a lot of people talk about, mainly because it was just okay. They also had a run on Moon Knight, so it's nice to see them working together again, mainly because, I've already shown that page, but mainly because, man, Maleev's artwork has just evolved into something so beautiful. I've always been a fan of his art, right? I've always been a big fan of his art and his use of photorealistic style cities, and sometimes the backgrounds just look so real, because they probably are, if you've ever seen him draw. But I love the mixture of this realistic art with those kind of backgrounds. It works, and it's so good and detailed. But I don't think it's ever looked as good as it does here. Now, that's probably just me. Or maybe it's the use of colors from Paul Mounts to Nathan Fairbairn. I don't know. But whatever it is, it works. Now, this book right here is 264 pages. And as I mentioned, retails for $29.99. Let's look in the back here for extras. Don't want to reveal any spoilers, but skipping any of the covers that have any kind of spoilers. But here's all the variants. And then the character designs here by Alex Maleev. It's a really cool design for Leviathan. And as far as the binding and the paper quality, the paper is this matte paper. It doesn't have a semi-gloss finish to it. And the binding, you may be able to tell, is glued binding. So all the bunches are right up against that spine right there. So when it comes to splash pages, you lose a little bit of the artwork in that gutter loss because, like I said, it's glued. And here is the other hardcover. This is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, or rather, Tales from the DC Dark Multiverse. Here's what the back looks like. It retails for $34.99. However, this one has 448 pages. Let's look at it under the spine. And this book is freaking awesome. I don't know if you've read these already. This is a series of just 5 one-shots, but they're extra large. Like the page count is extra large on them. So you have different writers. You have Scott Snyder, Kyle Higgins, Jeff Loveness, Tim Seeley, James Tynion, and then you have different artists. And then they also collect the original issues that these stories are originally inspired from. So what this is 5 one-shots. It begins. So we kick it off with Batman Nightfall from the Tales from the DC Dark Multiverse. So think of this like a Marvel What If story or a DC Elseworld, where we know the story of Nightfall and it ends differently. So, for example, not that this is a big of a spoiler, because if you're familiar with these kind of stories, this is the story of how John Paul Valley killed Bruce Wayne and stayed as Batman. And then it goes, like it says right there, 30 years later, he's been Batman for that long, and he's still over Gotham. And then we have a very iconic moment in the DC history, the death of Superman. And this one has a really cool twist, which I'm not going to spoil for you. Then we have Blackest Night. And I think my favorite thing about Blackest Night, this one shot, is the return of Kyle Holtz. I haven't seen him on artwork in so long. And damn, do I love his art style. He has this really dark, almost like Kelly Jones, but not as over muscular characters like Kelly Jones used to draw. I don't know, I've always been a big fan of his art, so it's nice to see him draw something dark like this, like Blackest Night. Again, mini twist, things are a lot different. We have Infinite Crisis 1 here. This is actually a really good story. I love the artwork here. And this is Aaron Lopresti, who had a run on Wonder Woman, and he did some, new Excalibur for Marvel. Had an awesome graphic novel, Conan and Wonder Woman. And then the last book in here is The Judas Contract. So what I thought was kind of interesting about this, and at first I didn't appreciate, was the fact that they collect the original stories, the original issues, not the entire story, of course, not the entire event, but the issues where these stories originated from in the back here. So you have Superman 75, you have Batman, 497, I think. Yeah, Batman 497. So if you've never read the original stories, they're back here in the back for you to read. And at first I thought, oh man, it's just a waste of paper. People can actually go and buy those events. But no, it makes sense. If you don't want to buy a whole trade paperback and just want to enjoy this what if and aren't familiar with the stories, these are a great way of catching up. This book, like I said, is $34.98 for 448 pages. So it's like they're practically giving you these original pages back here for free. Now let's look in the back here for extras. So you have a series of variant covers from the very iconic issues that we talked about. So you have Doomsday killing Superman, Bane breaking Batman's back, Blackest Night variants. That really doesn't look much darker than that one, but yeah, whatever. Whoa, those are gorgeous. That's got to be art germ. Yep. And then some sketches here in the back and character designs. So this one was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. So please let me know in the comments if you actually read this one. I think one of the most interesting things about this collection is the fact that it's still part of the DC universe. So you have the DC icon, not the DC Black Label. Man, that's probably got something to do with the fact that it was kind of a spin-off of the DC Metals. As far as the paper quality and the binding is glued binding. The paper quality seems to be a little more semi-glossier than the matte paper from the Event Leviathan. That actually feels like old comic book paper, whereas this feels like it's got like a semi-gloss finish to it. Now, because of the binding, you are going to get some gutter loss, and because it's 448 pages, it does have a hard time staying open towards the front and, of course, the back. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, if you're interested in purchasing either of these books, check out our sponsor.
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you Minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
Now, that was the contents of each book and the build of the books, as well as the page count. Let me know in the comments down below if you're picking these up, if you're hoping that one day they'll get an oversized hardcover treatment, or if you've already read it and you're okay with just keeping the single issues, or you're going to wait for the trade paperback. Again, leave all those comments down below. As you know, I like to respond back to you, each and every one of you. Now, please don't forget to hit that like button, and if you enjoy these type of videos, please don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. Remember, you can find us on Patreon and Redbubble, and all of that information is in the description down below, and thank you to our existing patrons. And more importantly, please, everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love to you all.